Hey everybody, I'd like to talk to you about building a business. And what that means in Primerica is growing code numbers. Code numbers is licensed representatives, right? So your primary job, I know there's a lot of you out there and you don't get this. And the reason I know you don't get it is because I look at the numbers, right? And so growing a business is growing the number of licensed representatives where you don't have to work anymore and you can live off of your overrides if you have enough licensed representatives on your team. So a lot of you call me and you ask me, you're like, help me, why is my income not growing? Well, there's a place on Primerica Online where I would log on with you. It's POL, all apps, personal production. And you could enter the year and you have to click year end and you can look at every year you've ever worked here, all your numbers, your recruiting numbers, your licensing numbers, number of codes. You can look at your whole history. That's unbelievable. And a lot of guys, they don't know that exists. So when they come to me and they're aggravated, frustrated, why their income isn't growing, all I do is I log on there and I'll look at 8 years ago, how many licensed reps you had. And I'll look at 8 years later, how many licensed reps you had. And you know what it always is? Right about the exact number of reps. Like one of my buddies, I won't use his name because I love him, he used to make close to $500,000 in income. Not everybody in Primerica does that, but he was right around that time. And he's a stud. He loves Primerica. He works hard. He's out every night. And one night he calls me up and he's just aggravated why his income in 10 years hasn't grown. And I said, that's real easy. Let's log online together. And I went online. And in 10 years, he'd grown 12 codes. I said, that's why your income's the same, man. You're working hard, but you're not growing your business. Are you working in your business as an employee of your business, or are you working on your business, right? So on your business means, yeah, you're working your business, but you're growing code numbers as well. That's working on your business part. So if you recruited 2 to 3 directs a month, and you were helping them recruit recruits underneath them where you were involved in 10 recruiting transactions, not your base shop, not your district leader, you, the leader, the RVP, the regional leader that wants to get promoted to RVP, if you were involved in 10 recruiting transactions and you were locked in on getting them to Sprint District, Sprint District means you're getting them out, you're getting recruits underneath them, you're writing premium, but they're getting licensed, right? If you were a freak about that, right? If that is what ate you up morning, noon, and night, you would grow code numbers. So you've got to learn about attrition. So this guy and I went online and we looked, and in 10 years, he grew 12 code numbers. Why? He was licensing reps every year, but he was licensing just enough reps where he replaced the reps that he lost. Because every year, all your reps won't renew their licenses. So when you want to grow code numbers, you've got to know what your attrition rate is. Ours for years was about 20%. That means if you got 100 codes, you're going to lose 20. Well, if you only licensed 20 that year, you're even. You haven't grown anything. So if you want to grow, you got to replace the ones you lose and grow on top of that. And the way you do that is you got to lead. You can't expect your districts and divisions, to grow your code numbers. You're the leader. It's you doing it, right? And so I want to get you locked in on 100 code numbers. Right, your number one goal is to get to RVP, but then after that is to get to 100 code numbers. And the reason is when you get to 100 code numbers in your base shop, the average RVP makes over 200 grand a year. Not all of them, 82 out of 100 RVPs with 100 codes or more a year make over 200 grand. Let me let you look at the slide here. So if you're looking at the slide for 100 code base shops, 200 grand and up, 82%. That's a big percentage, right? That is you playing with the odds, not against the odds, right? Against the odds is I'm going to get to that income with no license reps. Well, congratulations. You're going to be working a job forever, right? You'll be hustling forever. I always like working Primerica with the odds. And in this case, 82 out of 100, they get to 100 or more codes, make over 200 grand. And their average income, look at their average income there. $727,000. And a large reason is they don't just do life. If you look at the right, the average investment volume is huge there. Now the 18 out of 100 that got 100 codes and they make less than that, their average income's 100.5. That's a huge gap, right? And the reason that gap is there is if you look all the way to the right, their investment volume is almost non-existent. Right? And the reason that is licensing, right? They got to the 100 life codes, but they didn't license anybody on the investment part. I've preached my whole career, get 1/4 of your life license reps investment license. That's your players. That's your pool that you could work with, that those guys are able to get promoted to vice president. They make more money. And guess what? They're going to renew their license every year. You're not going to lose those guys, right? So if you get 1/4 of your life license reps investment license, it'll grow your income, it'll grow their income. It's a win-win. But if you like making the 100.5, don't change a thing, just hang out there. But I believe y'all want to change. That's why we're doing this video. So how do we do that now, right? So you go out, you recruit your directs, you're involved in 10 recruiting transactions a month, you're locked in on getting them to Sprint District. Your personal production, let's use this as your personal production, is way high. Your overrides are way down here. Early on, you are your income. But as you're getting people to Sprint District and licensing and growing code numbers over time period, your overrides start to grow because you have more licensed reps. And eventually, if you do it well long enough, you should have to write no personal production, and it's all override income where you could live the dream. Now, I'm here personally, and I still write business because I love doing it. I love training new recruits. I'm out one evening a week at least, like with live clients, because I enjoy it. And when I'm training my reps, it gives me credibility because I tell them, well, this is what I just did last week, not what I did 12 years ago when I used to do it, right? So you want that gap moving from way up here to way down here, and you still do it a little bit if you want to. So that's number one. Number two thing is once you get to 100 codes, all these reps that were involved in that, right? They've watched what you've done. They've observed you. See, the problem is your reps are observing you and watching you, and you're not doing that. And so they're not either. But if they were part of that movement, culture-changing movement of getting locked in on code numbers, right? More than locked in on winning a trip or getting a bonus check. Those are all good things. You want to win all the trips and you want to get big bonus checks and all that. But you'll get all that if you lock in on Sprint Districts and growing code numbers, okay? All that comes with it. Okay, there's recognition Primerica and there's get rich Primerica. And what I've learned, if you play get rich Primerica, which means growing your code numbers, you're gonna win all the accolades, you're gonna win all the awards, you're gonna win all the trips, because I have, right? There's never one I've lost. And I don't even track it anymore. I just do my job. Your job is to grow code numbers. So when I get a new recruit in the class, I'm there that morning of the class welcoming them there. I'm calling them up that week personal, not a text, not a WhatsApp. I'm calling them, reminding them, hey, the class is this weekend and I'm gonna meet you there. And you're there at the end of the class. So you log them on Primerica Online so they know where the practice exams are. And you line up the exam with them so they have a test date scheduled. And we gotta get people back in live classes, okay? Listen, the online classes are much better than they've ever been. And if you live in a place where you're remote and that's your only option, it works. But live classes with live instructors, with other new recruits in a Primerica office, with a Primerica vice president dropping in and welcoming everybody, is better than online classes. So we got to start getting people back into classes. We got to get locked in on licensing them. And you knowing that if you get to 100 codes, 82 out of 100 make over $200,000, and the average income is almost $750,000. Now that you know that number, why wouldn't you want to do that, right? It's crazy not to get locked in on that. Don't get trapped into working your business like an employee. It's easy to do because we can make a lot of money that way. Mortgages, investments, life insurance, prepaid legal, Vivint, identity theft, you name it, right? Healthcare, all that kind of stuff. But do all that while you're building your business and working on your business and growing code numbers, because if you had all those new license reps, you're gonna do more business. You're gonna do more production. There's this myth in Primerica that I either make money or I grow my business, which is a myth. It's if you grow your business, you're gonna make money. Because growing your business, doing all the right things that the home office has placed for us. I mean, they've got the licensing processes on Primerica Online, everything. If you do exactly what they tell you to do, but you got to track your recruits. You can't think, and I used to do this, I'm guilty of it. I used to think, well, why aren't they like me? Well, they're not, right? So they're not like you either. You probably are one that you were licensed on your own. Nobody had to hold your hand. You know what? Hold their hands. Get them in the process. And the more codes you get, that 100 code number, now there's a group of them helping you to get to the next 100. Now you got 200. Now there's more of you helping to get to the next level. If you look at this next slide here, this is through generation 3 code numbers. If you get to 300 codes, to 500 codes, look at the average annual income. That's just over $9,000 a week. $9,000, what would you do with all that money? Right? I mean, I used to wonder that. What would I do with all that money? You know what? You'll learn what to do with it all. But then you keep growing because now you got 500 codes. There's leaders in there. You've created a licensing culture, a growing codes culture like we did in our hierarchy. Willie and Lorena got it. Miguel got it. Mark Young got it. And all these guys are locked in on growing their codes, and their incomes have skyrocketed, and they're heroes in the company now because of it. But it all started like 20 years ago when I was, talking about 100 codes in the base shop, and nobody had 100 codes in the base shop in our hierarchy. I had to do it first. You have to do yours first. And I promise you. So look at the next level. 500 codes to 1,000 codes through generation 3. We've excluded anybody out of that range. So if you got over 1,000 codes, you're not in this average. And the average there is still $634,000 a year. Are you kidding me? That's like, what, 12 grand a week? It's a lot of money. And then if you get to 1,001 codes to 2,500 codes through generation 3, the average income is 1.1, almost 1.2 million. And listen, we've excluded all the big boys out of that, because if you got over 2,500 codes, like Willie Naranjo's not in that average. So he's not bringing the average up. Bobby Buisan is not in that average. Hector Lamarck is not in that average because they have more than those number of code numbers. So we wanted to keep it in that range so you knew what the true averages were. Now look, these are averages. You can earn more, you can earn less. You can earn $1 million nowadays on your own, writing mortgages and investments. But you're an employee. You're going to work forever. Art Williams created Primerica, A.L. Williams then, later Primerica, so that we could get free and we could change the world. If you're one guy working, you can't change the world. There's only X number of hours in the day. And the older you get, the harder, the rougher it is, to work like you work now. But remember this is you now working like crazy. If you do all the right things over time, this is your overrides, this is your income. The last slide reflects that. This is our chart here. And if you look at 01, you have the years at the bottom, and then you have code numbers in the blue line, and you have cash in the green line. If you look at the numbers, at 2,100 and change in licensed reps, we made $1,404,000. At 1,325, we made $1 million. At 629, we made $859,000. At 345, we made 11 grand a week. At 147 codes, I mean, it's right here. Listen, we've done the research. Home office made this chart, looked up all the numbers that you looked at. They're all real. They're not Omar making them up. Than average. But you want to get your life codes up, get a quarter of them investment license, get locked in on Sprint District and licensing, and explode your business to the next level. I'm telling you, number one, 100 codes is the hardest. The next one's a little bit easier, but eventually, I think we license 220 a month now. And I don't know any of them because it snowballs over time. compound licensing happens, but you have to invest in it early on, just like your IRA account does, okay? So I hope that helps you. Go explode your licensing. Let's explode Primerica and let's go change the world.